Everyone, I'm truly grateful to share this moment with you today. When people look at my life and career, they often see the highlights. Acquisitions, rocket launches, electric cars transforming the industry, but they rarely see the many times I stumbled, the instances when I wasn't sure if my vision would ever become a reality. There was a time early on when I poured my energy and every last dollar I had into an online media venture. I was brimming with optimism. I believed wholeheartedly that the internet was about to revolutionize commerce and communication. The timing wasn't perfect, my product was rough around the edges, and I didn't fully grasp the complexity of the market. Before I knew it, the venture was in trouble. Nobody was downloading our platform. We ran out of cash. In a matter of months, that early dream simply dissolved. For a while, that failure was a dark cloud over my confidence. I wrestled with fears that maybe I just wasn't cut out to create something meaningful. Maybe the big ideas were too big, or I was too naive to see the pitfalls that were of experienced entrepreneurs. Each phone call with would-be investors felt like a dead end. Every conversation with my team ended with the same disheartening result, and we couldn't pay the bills and we didn't have a path forward. I can't begin to describe how discouraging it was to watch something I had poured my heart into just fade away. Yet looking back, that failure taught me more than any course or any book could have. Those were the nights that pushed me to question everything I assumed I knew. Those were the nights that cultivated resilience. In that crucible, I discovered that if I wanted to build something truly remarkable, I needed to embrace setbacks and expect that real success takes time. My breakthrough moment arrived when I sat down with a mentor who had a knack for capturing the essence of what entrepreneurship is all about. He wasn't afraid to be direct. He made me realize that speed isn't the only measure of progress. He reminded me that the greatest innovations are seldom recognized as such at first. In the quiet of that discussion, a spark was reignited. I had thought that failing fast and moving on was the ultimate approach, but this conversation changed everything. I started to see that failure is often a stepping stone, not the end of the journey. Now I look around and see all of you, people brimming with creativity, resilience, a shared desire to shape the future. I see founders with pitch decks in their backpacks, engineers scribbling solutions on napkins, visionaries who dream of leaving a lasting impact on the world. Each of you has faced or will face moments that force you to question everything. Maybe you've just tasted your first big setback. Maybe you're celebrating a small win that came after years of frustration. We're all on this winding path together. That is, collectively, we need to remind each other that the best things are seldom easy. And if they come quick, they often vanish just as fast. What I propose today is a renewed approach to our pursuits, one that values endurance as much as innovation. Let's commit to keeping our eyes on the horizon, willing to push through difficulties instead of expecting immediate results. Let's set realistic timelines, measure incremental progress, and celebrate small milestones along the way. Let's cultivate a culture that treasures patience as much as passion. Because in the end, patience isn't about waiting idly, it's about working steadily, day after day, even when the immediate outcomes are invisible. We pave the way for breakthroughs that stand the test of time. I invite you to join me on this journey. The world needs the ideas you're nurturing, and those ideas need the space and time to grow. Today, let's step into a different mindset together. If patience is the unsung hero of success, let's give it the recognition it deserves. And along that path, never lose sight of your ambition, because with enough heart, vision, determination will build something that changes our lives and the world in ways we never imagined. I've been thinking a lot about the nature of success, especially how we often see only the tip of the iceberg. Powerful shifts, the quiet perseverance, that all happens beneath the surface. This is the message I want to weave through everything I share with you now. True success usually isn't an overnight phenomenon, a result of consistent effort, one challenge at a time. So let's go deeper together. Let's explore how patience, effort, and the unwavering commitment to a long-term view can turn your goals into realities. The first key idea I'd like to delve into focuses on the nature of discovering what truly matters. Too often, people believe success is simply about money or fame. Real success, enduring success, often emerges from a deeper purpose. Are you ready to explore how to discover that purpose? Let's find out. The truth is, I see an extraordinary future where every dreamer can get the support and the runway they need to make a difference. If we keep our eyes open, if we stay patient through the storms, and if we never stop pursuing our passion, that future is much closer than we think now. Let's begin our main discussion on the value of patient, consistent effort, one step at a time, for as long as it takes. The discovery of deep purpose is discovery pattern. Have you ever asked yourself, why am I pushing so hard for success in the first place? That question might seem straightforward, but it has the potential to reshape your life. When we're caught in the daily grind, it's easy to chase quick wins or follow someone else's definition of success. I've been there, waking up in the morning thinking about how to scale faster, outrun competitors, In chasing these milestones, we can lose sight of what originally inspired us. So, I encourage you to ask yourself, what is the deeper reason you started your journey? Let's consider a case study of someone who took the time to find that deeper reason. Early in the tech industry, there was a company that believed it could revolutionize how people shared pictures online. This was before smartphones made everything instant. Investors were skeptical, even mocking. The founders had to knock on countless doors. Many thought it was a niche product with no real potential. But they persisted, seeing on their central mission to enable anyone, anywhere, to share a snapshot of their world with just a few clicks. That core belief carried them through rejections, lackluster initial adoption, and public doubt. Yet they pressed on because they were convinced that human connection through visuals worth the wait. The result, a global platform that redefined photography, helped spark a wave of digital communities, ultimately proved that real success takes consistent effort and a deep sense of purpose. To understand this more deeply, we need to analyze the role patience plays in unearthing our core motivations. It's like mining for gold. You rarely find the mother lode right at the surface. You have to dig, refine, get dirty, and sometimes come up empty-handed for days, months, or even years. Yet, during that time, you're owning your instincts and clarifying your goals. You might pivot, recalibrate, or bring in new team members who share your fundamental values. Every setback becomes an opportunity to ask, is this still what I want to do? Is there an even better way to serve my purpose? But these are not easy questions, but if you're honest with yourself and you're patient enough to wait for honest answers, you'll gain a clarity that people chasing quick wins rarely have. So how do you put this into practice? Start by carving out moments each week to reflect on your overarching vision. Write down the main reason you want to succeed. Is it purely to hit a revenue target, or is there a larger mission at play? Think about the emotions tied to that mission. Does it excite you in a way that fuels you through the tough times? If you find your motivation is superficial or based on fleeting trends, that's a signal to recalibrate. If, on the other hand, you discover a powerful why, that clarity can sustain you when everything else feels uncertain. This exercise, while straightforward, can revolutionize your approach. Instead of measuring success by external benchmarks, like being featured in a headline or impressing your peers, you start measuring it by alignment with your core mission. When you reach that breakthrough conclusion, you'll realize that patience is more than a virtue. It's the supportive bridge that carries you from a vague idea to a deeply rooted, meaningful enterprise. At that point, the day-to-day frustrations don't vanish. You endure them with a sense of direction. You're no longer tossed around by short-term ups and downs because you have an anchor. And here's a quote from Steve Jobs, underscores this idea. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Notice how it calls us to looking, to persist, to search for that alignment between effort and passion. Path of patience makes the search possible, and that in itself is a major victory. The long, winding road of early struggles, a storytelling pattern. Let me share a story about someone I met at a launch event for one of my ventures years ago. He arrived with a nervous energy, practically bouncing on his heels. A prototype for a device to simplify solar panel installations. It was the kind of gadget that might reduce labor costs and streamline efficiency for scale installers. Immediately, I could see the spark in his eyes. He believed in his product with every fiber of his being, and his voice cracked with excitement as he explained how it worked. Yet, despite his passion, he had no large investors, no marketing team, and only a single partner who helped him with early testing. He'd moved across the country for better opportunities, leaving behind family and friends. After months of pitching the idea, he was out of savings. Even so, he pushed forward. Every phone call with a potential backer was an emotional roller coaster. Some days a glimmer of hope would appear, only vanish by the end of the week when they decided not to move forward. That emotional toll began to weigh heavily on him. He started to question maybe it was time to pack up and admit defeat. Over time, the challenges piled up. He realized that coordinating with manufacturers required technical knowledge he didn't have. Supply chain issues popped up at every turn. Legal fees threatened to swallow any funding he managed to secure. On top of that, device had a design flaw that would require a costly pivot. Yet, in each setback, he found tiny moments of clarity. Manufacturing roadblocks forced him to partner with an experienced engineer who happened to share his vision for affordable, accessible green energy. The supply chain issues led him to form a relationship with a smaller domestic factory that could iterate faster on new designs. Each challenge, while painful, offered a hidden gift. He learned more in those months of struggle than he had in years of formal education. The lessons were clear. Success is rarely a straight line. Days he felt unstoppable, and days he couldn't muster the energy to open his laptop. He had to reinvent not just the product himself, become an entrepreneur who embraced the willingness to fail forward. As he stuck with it, focusing on steady improvements, his confidence grew. Investors began to see that he was not merely chasing a payday, he was building a solution that would endure. A small group decided to take a chance on him, and that was enough to launch a pilot program. This pilot program, modest as it was, validated the viability of the concept. Orders trickled and then started to flow. The solution to his challenges was not a magical windfall, but a series of incremental wins that slowly, almost imperceptibly, transformed the company's prospects. Those small wins kept him going. He reached a stage where he began to believe that as long as he stayed on course, iterating patiently, the device could become a true market contender. He recognized that every step in this marathon taught him how to refine the product, communicate better with collaborators, and plan for the future. That's the real treasure of struggle, the slow forging of resilience and adaptability that shortcuts will never provide. Of course, it wasn't all result of that pilot launch. This was just the beginning of a longer road. Still, the experience illustrates that genuine success usually unfolds through a narrative arch, beginning brimming with hope, a messy middle packed with challenges, and a turning point where consistent effort finally yields tangible results. It's a universal point. We all become that person burning the midnight oil, uncertain of what tomorrow will bring, yet refusing to give up. The biggest lesson from this story is that your struggles become a part of your success story. They aren't detours, they're character-building chapters. And when you accept that true success takes time, you develop the patience required to push through obstacles. As Thomas Edison once said, our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. That succinctly captures the essence of perseverance. If you keep trying, keep iterating, and continue learning from every failure, you'll find that success will meet you eventually. It might not come in the form you first expected, but it will arrive in a way that validates every lesson learned along the way. The numbers behind the journey, analysis pattern, patience, and consistent effort are often more than just nice platitudes. They're backed by data. Studies have shown that most overnight success stories we admire took years of unseen toil. According to a survey from the Harvard Business Review, roughly 2/3 of startups take an average of 3 to 4 years before they even achieve basic profitability, let alone exponential growth. That figure might surprise those who think a successful startup either makes it big within a year or fizzles out entirely. The data tells us that the in-between space, the slow build, the gradual climb is where most founders actually live. Looking at market trends, we can see that companies which sustains a steady, incremental progress also tend to have greater longevity. In the tech sector, for instance, you see it in the life cycle of products. Software that undergoes iterative, user feedback-driven development often outperforms solutions that launch with a splash but fail to adapt quickly. Even in industries like aerospace, something very dear to my heart, the path to a stable rocket launch vehicle involves countless test firings, scrubs reengineering phases, and large volumes of data analysis. Sometimes the public only sees the successful liftoff, but behind that moment are years of trial and error. In-depth research reveals that psychological resilience is a key differentiator between projects that fizzle out and those that eventually bloom. A study from the Journal of Applied Psychology found that entrepreneurs who cultivate a growth mindset, recognizing that ability innovation can be developed with effort, are more likely to recover from setbacks. They see challenges as part of the developmental process rather than insurmountable blocks. This mindset, in turn, fuels the perseverance needed to keep going when the timeline stretches longer than expected. For practical applications, consider implementing milestone-based progress tracking. Instead of fixating on the final destination, create small checkpoints, maybe weekly or monthly objectives that can be achieved incrementally. Each milestone becomes a data point you can evaluate, did we move forward, and if not, what blocked us. This approach encourages you to remain patient because it frames progress as a series of manageable steps rather than an all or nothing leap. It also creates opportunities for course correction. Data from many successful corporate projects indicates that the ability to pivot based on informed insights from smaller milestones can be the deciding factor between eventual success and early collapse. Looking into the future, I predict that the emphasis on sustainable growth will only increase. Rapid booms followed by busts harm not just individual companies, but the broader economic ecosystem. Investors, too, are recognizing the value of a measured pace. Always be a place for moonshots and big risks. There's a growing appreciation for steady progress built on real data, thorough testing, and customer feedback loops. In a world that's frequently enthralled by instant gratification, this might seem counterintuitive, but I believe it's the new frontier for truly impactful innovation. Here's a quote from Management Group Peter Drucker that sums up the data nicely, driven angle nicely, what gets measured gets managed. Those simple words hint at why patience and consistency are so vital. If you measure your progress carefully, observing the incremental gains and learning from every shortfall, you will manage your path effectively. The result? A more stable foundation that can weather the unforeseen challenges inevitably lurking around the corner, i.e., Turning observation into action is an interactive pattern. Take a moment to imagine you have a blank sheet of paper in front of you. I want you to visualize a timeline that extends from now until 5 years in the future. Most of us pack that timeline with ambitious goals, launching a new product, scaling to 1 million users, maybe getting that big round of funding, or successfully leading an IPO. Now close your eyes, if it helps, and think each month or quarter need to look like to move in that direction. What might be the first small step you can take that, over time, grows into something truly remarkable. In a group discussion I once hosted, attendees were asked to share one major goal. We had a diverse, proud, and aspiring astronaut, a small business owner, a nonprofit leader. Each articulated their grand vision. Then broke it into small clusters and asked them to experience where they move closer to a goal, not with a giant leap, but with a patient, incremental step. The stories were powerful. How someone had increased their newsletter subscriber base by consistently sending quality content for a year, rather than splurging on ads. How another had perfected a software feature over months, using real-time feedback from a small group of users. By the end of the exercise, it became clear that while the final outcome might be dramatic, the journey usually isn't. It's a series of small, thoughtful moves that eventually build momentum. Let me invite you to share your experiences, albeit silently in this context. Think about you tried a new approach and had to wait for the results. Maybe it was a new marketing strategy, maybe it was adopting a different leadership style. How did you handle that waiting period? Did you give it enough time to germinate, or did you get impatient and move on? Reflect on whether that impatience might have cost you an opportunity to learn or grow. Next, imagine we're engaging in direct practice right now. You have a concept you believe in passionately. If you had to commit the next 12 months to nurturing it without seeking any external validation, how would you use that time? Would you spend it refining prototypes, building relationships, or exploring new markets? Would you focus on skill, building and improve your own capabilities? And most importantly, how would you maintain your motivation when the immediate payoff is invisible? This mental exercise is a way to gauge your readiness for the long haul. Finally, let's distill the lesson from this interactive approach. By breaking down your dreams into smaller tasks and experiences, by engaging with others who share or challenge your perspective, you learn to see how patience woven into every milestone. Progress becomes something you can direct rather than something you hope for. Reminded of a quote by Henry Ford, "Coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, together is success." When you collaborate with patience, both yourself and others, the entire process grows more robust. You're more adaptable, more open to feedback, and more likely to make discoveries that fuel long-term growth. Overcoming the roadblocks problem, solving pattern, challenging forms, just come emerge. Sometimes it's a lack of resources. Sometimes it's market resistance. Other times, it's personal doubt. The first step is to identify exactly where the bottleneck lies. Is it technology? Is it funding? Is it funding? Is it your own mindset that's causing you to give up too early? Be brutally honest in pinpointing the biggest hurdles. Once you know what you're up against, delve into a root cause analysis. If it's funding, ask why. Have you not demonstrated a clear market need? If it's technology, you need more expertise on your team. If your own impatience is sabotaging your efforts, explore why you might be expecting instant results. More often than not, purely external barrier also has internal aspect, your team's readiness, your personal willingness to persist, or your processes for handling setbacks. From here, brainstorm solution proposals that don't hinge on immediate breakthroughs. For instance, if money, consider smaller revenue streams or collaborations that can buy you time to develop further. If technology is your barrier, start building alliances with experts or invest in a scaled down version of your vision that you can refine over multiple iterations. If personal doubt is the challenge, look for a mentor or peer group that can remind you why you started in the first place. The next step is to form a concrete action plan, something you can implement gradually. Rather than aiming for the finish line in one sprint, draft a timeline of incremental achievements that will keep you moving forward. Celebrate each achievement, no matter how small, because those mini wins create momentum. Your plan regularly to adjust for unforeseen circumstances. This cyclical approach, plan, execute, evaluate, refine, allows you to stay adaptable without sacrificing your long-term objectives. Success metrics should also be viewed through the lens of patience. Instead of setting only massive targets in corporate micro goals, perhaps a 5% monthly growth in user engagement, a handful of new product features implemented each quarter, or a weekly improvement in your own leadership skills. These smaller measurements keep you motivated because they make progress tangible. Over time, a series of small successes culminates in a seismic shift. Let me offer a quote that encapsulates the essence of turning challenges into patient progress. Bill Gates once said, "Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. That perspective shift is crucial. If you can set your sights beyond the next quarter, You open yourself to the kind of methodical, iterative work that can transform an idea from untested prototype to industry game changer. And the hidden secret behind it all is patience, guiding you through the rough patches and into the breakthroughs that truly matter. Before we move on, I want you to take a deep breath and think, which of these obstacles resonates most with you right now? Your solution seems most immediately applicable. The minute you choose one and commit to working on it patiently, you've already started on a new trajectory. It embraces the reality that real success, lasting success, often rewards those who refuse to rush the process. Now that we've explored the key points, discovering your purpose, enduring early struggles, leveraging data, engaging interactively with your process, and solving problems methodically, it's time to tie everything together. Patience may not be the most glamorous attribute in a world that often values speed, is unquestionably a superpower for those daring enough to dream. Let's look forward and see how we can apply these insights in the long run, forging a future that is all the brighter for our willingness to persevere. I see a future where entrepreneurs and innovators create lasting impact because they prioritize depth over quick wins, where each of us learns to see setbacks not as final judgments, but as stepping stones, pushing us toward more refined, more resilient ideas. Let's transition into that final reflection, bringing all these threads together in a way that both challenges and supports each of us in the pursuit of our long-term goals. We've reached a point in our journey where we can lift our gaze and consider the road ahead. The trials we face aren't there to deter us, they're there to fortify us. And armed with the knowledge of these 5 pillars, purpose, struggle, data, engagement, and problem solving, we can enter the next chapter of our ventures, careers, or personal projects with a renewed sense of vigor and clarity. Looking forward, I envision a landscape where technological advances and human creativity merge in ways we can barely predict right now. Imagine the breakthroughs we haven't even conceived of, to be discovered by those with the patience to nurture an idea until it blossoms. Picture an industry less obsessed with instantaneous unicorn valuations and more aligned with sustainable, meaningful progress that benefits everyone from the earliest employees to the end users across the globe. That's the future I'm investing in, and I hope you'll join me. Of course, challenges will not magically disappear. They might grow more complex as the world becomes more interconnected. But if we embrace patience as a core principle, we become more equipped to handle those complexities. We learn to stay calm, to keep iterating, to develop robust solutions that stand the test of time rather than chasing superficial gains. If there's a single rallying cry to offer, this: be bold enough to dream. Also be patient enough to see your dream through. That is the challenge I present to each one of you. Commit to an unhurried, deliberate process of growth. Evaluate your strategies, test your prototype, test your paralyze your data, gather feedback, refine, and repeat. It won't always be thrilling. It's rarely as glamorous as the news headlines make it seem. But every long-term success story has that unseen period where the team was working late nights, making improvements, trusting that their consistent effort would pay off. So test yourself. Each time you feel the urge to accelerate recklessly or abandon ship too quickly, remember the stories we've shared here. That success often takes years of behind-the-scenes diligence. Let's talk about support. If you're feeling isolated, if your patience is wearing thin, you're not alone. Many creators out there, founders, engineers, dreamers, each grappling the tension between needing fast results and knowing that thorough progress takes time. Seek them out. Form alliances. Share knowledge. Celebrate small victories. Offer mentorship or ask for it when you're stuck. One of the best ways to maintain patience is to have a network that reminds you of the bigger picture. I commit to continuing to advocate for, invest in, and highlight those who have the grit to stick with their visions, whether through direct involvement or by helping shape industries that value long-term thinking. To champion the patient builders, we can infuse patience into our organizations too. Structure your work culture in a way that doesn't penalize the thoughtful liberation. Create an environment where it's okay to fail. Provide enough runway, financially, emotionally, and strategically, for real innovation to flourish. Remember that the best breakthroughs aren't the product panic or rash action. They're a careful analysis, imaginative thinking, and above all, perseverance. As I close, I want to leave you with a note of inspiration. The human capacity for creation is boundless. The new frontiers of technology, sustainability, human potential are more exciting than ever. But these frontiers will require a mindset that doesn't shy away from the reality that deep, meaningful progress is often painstaking. We must reject the illusion of instant success and embrace the incremental process. That's how we turn our biggest dreams into lasting realities. I'll wrap up with this. Success rarely happens because of a single moment of genius. It unfolds across thousands of smaller moments. Moments when you chose to keep going, to refine, to believe. And one day, you'll look back and see the fruits of that quiet, patient labor. You might realize that what started as a faint spark has grown into luminous achievement, guiding others forward. Let's go out there and build. Let's be patient enough to see our visions through to the end. And when we do, let's share those stories to inspire the next generation of dreamers that they can journey forward with courage, fueled by unwavering resolve. Keep believing in the slow build, the daily grind, the steady hand. Keep believing in your mission, because when success does arrive, it will be all the more meaningful knowing you earned it through persistence, patience, and a heart set on making a genuine difference in the world. Thank you for allowing me to share this time with you. Now, let's step away from the rushing currents of instant gratification and into the steady waters where real progress thrives. In that space, I promise you anything is possible.